Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And a special good morning. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So, several weeks ago, we had a caller, a car clinic listener, who called in to say that the AGM batteries that we endorse were not legal in some states. And in fact, I want to thank this loyal car clinic listener. His name was Mike, I believe, who called in at the very conclusion of a broadcast to provide us with information pertaining to the use of absorbent glass mat type AGM batteries. And he called to inform us that according to what he heard, there was legislation enacted that negatively affects the ability of consumers to purchase, install, and recycle AGM batteries in New York State. So we've done some research, and I have an answer for that particular inquiry and for that statement when I come back from the break. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by O'Reilly Auto Parts. If you need parts but can't get to a store, you can head to O'ReillyAuto.com and order parts for convenient in-store pickup. They have thousands of quality parts and accessories in stock, and you can shop from your phone, which is really cool, a tablet, of course, a computer, and pick them up on your schedule. With more than 5,000 stores nationwide, there's an O'Reilly Auto Parts store near you with friendly professional parts people who can have your order waiting. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Your calls at 888 Car Clinic when I come back. A 2013 Honda Accord came in the shop running rough, stalling, and a check engine light. The vehicle had originally been repaired by another shop. After a thorough diagnosis, we found the vehicle was generating a bad signal from the crankshaft position sensor. This seemed odd as it had just recently been replaced, but the scope doesn't lie. A bad waveform signal needs to be fixed. Our solution? A new crankshaft position sensor from Motorrad. A longtime leader for vehicle thermostats and caps, Motorrad now offers engine management products that are engineered to meet and or exceed OEM specifications. They're designed to perform under severe operating conditions and are resistant to extreme heat. We made the change, and that fixed the car. Motorrad engine management products are manufactured in Tier 1 OEM facilities with top quality qualifications. They undergo comprehensive 100% in-line and end-of-line testing to ensure uncompromising quality. Learn more about Motorrad engine management products and other Motorrad solutions at Motorrad.com. Folks, you know that tune-ups are often scheduled at 100,000 miles, but carbon constantly builds up on the valves and the combustion chambers inside an engine. Fuel injectors can also become clogged. Thanks to Berryman, with their 4-step professional air and fuel management kit, we can clean both the wet side, which is the fuel side, and the dry side, which is the intake manifold side of your engine. We use Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kit to clean the fuel system and decarbonize both the wet and dry side every 30 to 40,000 miles. It features mass airflow sensor cleaner, air intake and throttle body cleaner, an intake valve and combustion chamber cleaner, and a liquid pourable professional fuel system cleaner. Learn more about Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kit at BerrymanProducts.com. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with today's broadcast. A special day today because November the 30th, 2019 just happens to be my wife's birthday. So a special reach out, and I love you to Diane, who has always been a very caring individual and has been our leader both in the radio network, Car Clinic Network, and also Bobby Likis Car Clinic Automotive Service Shop. 48 years in the business, 48 years, 7 months, that is, in automotive service, 28 years and counting on the network side. And for the last 25, she's been certainly a leader and someone that's helped everyone in every facet of the organization. So I'm going to dedicate this program today to her. Okay, let's go back to the opening. And by the way, folks, feel free to call in earlier so that we can have time to talk about cars at 888-227-2546. So, as I mentioned at the open, a gentleman called in named Mike several shows ago and was concerned that the AGM batteries, there were issues with legislation with regard to New York and installing the AGM battery, which is absorbent glass mat. And the only difference between, they're all 12-volt batteries that we're talking about on the program. But a typical flooded battery, of course, has the acid that's liquid and plates and electrolyte, what it's called. And, of course, that's the number one recycled product in the world are batteries. I don't know if you knew that or not. And also Clarius, one of our partner sponsors that produces 1 in every 3 batteries in the world, folks. Yeah, it's a big deal. They recycle 8,000 batteries an hour, every hour, 365 days a year. Now that's a lot of recycled batteries. But getting back to the AGM, this past week we reached out to Michael Borgenson, who is the Membership and Operations Coordinator at the Battery Council International, who in turn reached out to the firm's legal counsel to confirm whether there is indeed legislation that affects the sale and usage of AGM-type batteries. Several days later, the legal counsel for the Battery Council International determined there is no such legislation in any state that prohibits the sale, usage, or recyclability of AGM batteries. In addition, our associate, Jonathan Sloan, reached out to Kevin O. Frazier, the Public Information Officer, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. That's DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation. And Kevin stated, quote, "The DEC is unaware of any laws or regulations prohibiting the use of AGM batteries," end quote. So there you have it, folks. No need to be concerned. And the lesson here learned, and I want to thank Mike for reaching out and trying to protect us, but the lesson learned here is anytime someone makes a statement that sounds either too good to be true or way off the mark, I have always a policy, and I ask, where did you get your information? And a lot of folks will call me from time to time and ask me where you got your information, and I keep knee-deep and river-wide records of not only white papers. I'm a big white paper person. That doesn't mean just because someone's written a white paper that it's a total fact, but at least a peer-reviewed white paper can assure you and get as close to the actual facts as possible. So anyway, having said that, I do endorse and I do use in my car and do offer for sale to my Car Clinic service repair customers AGM batteries. Okay, we'll take a call from Chris, and folks, now's a good time to get in. 888-227-2546 from Nebraska. Chris, you're first in, so you're first out. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey there.
Hey, sir. What can I do for you?
I've got a question on some brakes on a pickup. I had it's a 2000 Chevy, and the brakes on it were kind of dragging a little bit, and all the brakes on the rotors were getting really hot. And then one of them started to drag quite a bit, and I ended up replacing a caliper and a rotor and brake pads on the left rear tire. But I thought that'd probably get the problem solved, but it did not. So we're kind of back to the rotors getting hot again. What would a would a guy go about to do that or
Well,
fix that problem?
Anytime, Chris, you replace a caliper, you should replace the brake hose that feeds that caliper.
Okay.
And here's a way that you can test it. And also, you said you put a pad on the left rear. You can't buy just one pad. Did you replace the pads for the right rear at the same time as well, or do you just have it in the box still?
I just had it in the box. That one was replaced, not too long ago.
Okay.
I'm just kind of, we had it replaced a while ago, but I'm kind of tinkering with stuff and trying to figure stuff out. So.
Well, more than likely, the brake hose has a deterioration on the inside, and what happens is the pressure will force its way. Of course, when you step on the brake pedal, you put a lot of pressure to the caliper, so the pressure will force its way into the caliper and through any, like an aneurysm or through any closed up portion of the hose, and the problem there is when you let off the brake, it's that pressure has to escape back into the master cylinder, and there's nothing to block it when you let off the brake, except if that hose is restricted, and then while you can force pressure through, you can't allow it to leak back into the master cylinder. So always, and that's the first thing that I would do, because short of having, I was thinking of the ABS system, but ABS systems won't cause that issue. At least I've not had any in my experience to cause that issue. And besides, an ABS issue, while it does connect to each individual wheel, for the most part, the rear hoses are, well, let's see, if they connected to each wheel, they'd have to go from it's possible, just possible, but doubtful, that you have an ABS unit that is holding pressure on the left rear wheel, but I doubt it. So go ahead and replace that hose that feeds that and bleed the system thoroughly, and then give me a shout back in a week or so, or when you get on the other side of this problem, let me know if it worked.
Okay. Now, just, do you have time? Just one little quick question.
Yeah, sure.
If you lift up on the brake pedal while you're driving around and make sure that there's no pressure at all on the brake pedal, it does seem to help, and all those wheels don't get hot. And that it's mainly, I replaced the left rear, but all the wheels are getting hot when it does get hot.
Well, I didn't catch that. Yeah, I didn't. So if the only thing common to all wheels is the master cylinder, so here's your next to do. You don't have to have the engine running for this. So open the hood, remove the cap from the master cylinder, have someone step on the brake pedal, and every time that person steps on the brake pedal, you'll see a little ripple in the fluid, because the port that feeds the piston that puts pressure on the brake system is open to the master cylinder reservoir when the brake pedal is at rest. And that means that you never have to lift up on a brake pedal, so that's a no-no. Now, if you do, now, okay, so let me go where I'm thinking here. So if somebody steps on the brake, then the piston and the seal goes just past the port that is open. And just imagine a rifle barrel, and you got a plunger that's going down the rifle barrel, and then right before you push the plunger, there's a little hole in the roof of the rifle barrel that lets fluid go into the front of the barrel. When you push the port and you push the brake pedal, you push the piston beyond the hole. So now anything that is in the barrel gets pushed toward and into the brake system. You understand what I'm saying there?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
So when you let off, what happens is that pressure that you've pushed into that barrel, or into all the barrels, all the brake steel hoses and calipers, when you let off of the brake pedal, that piston comes back and exposes the hole, and all that pressure goes and it gets back up into the cylinder. And so actually, you can watch the brake fluid level reduce when you push on the brake pedal ever so slightly, and when you let off the brake pedal, you can watch the fluid come back up, because whatever fluid you pressed and pushed into the brake system has to come back to the master cylinder. If it does not, then the system, the issue that you are describing will happen. if that's the case, of course, my quick question to you, have you ever replaced the master cylinder or the booster?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay. So it's doubtful that you could have that problem, but at least you can see. And if you take a flashlight, with some, it depends on the master cylinder's reservoir and how it's configured, you can actually see the hole, and you can actually look through with a light if you've got good, clean, clear fluid, and you can see the little piston going beyond the hole. But you'd have to look real carefully because it's a, I don't know, 60 thousandths, 80 thousandths, 90 thousandths hole. So that's in the bottom of the reservoir that allows the fluid to go into the piston that you push to apply the brakes. If that's okay, it's possible that you have a master cylinder issue. Hey, thanks for your call. Got a short break coming up, and I'll be back, folks. Entertainment and GPS systems, heated seats, backup cameras, and start-stop technology. Just a few of the electrical demands we put on today's vehicles. AGM, or absorbent glass mat batteries, are up to the challenge. They're precision engineered to offer ultimate combination of power, durability, and reliability. Short-distance driving means your battery is not fully recharging. AGM batteries are more efficient than traditional flooded batteries when partially charged. They consume less power from the alternator. AGM, the better battery for today's vehicles. Learn more at autobatteries.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
This car repair spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. This week we had a 2013 Ford Escape 1.6 EcoBoost with 83,000 miles come in with two problems: coolant leak and squeaky belt. Seems the water pump was leaking coolant directly onto the belt. We called our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional and ordered a new pump and serpentine belt. Given our past success with brand name parts, we agreed with our O'Reilly Auto Parts professional and installed a Murray water pump and a Master Pro belt. We also performed our pre-repair coolant system procedure to ensure the entire system was clean and new coolant not contaminated by old, which adds life to the repair job. We returned the car to the owner, roadworthy and thoroughly repaired. She was most pleased that she has a road trip planned for the Thanksgiving week. Having 48 years in automotive service and repair, we know where to find the best parts, right there at O'Reilly Auto Parts. That's why we make O'Reilly Auto Parts our first call. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So I found some interesting information. Oh, by the way, gas prices kind of up and down. It's a mixed bag. Ironically, and this is really strange, I'm looking at the graph here, and it's U.S. regular gasoline prices in dollars. The average is $2.57 and 9/10. That's nationwide for low octane, 87 octane unleaded fuel. It's all unleaded now. Now, here's the bottom line. In 4 of the markets, 4 of the 9 markets altogether, 4 of those, the prices are lower than they were last year, this time last year. So that means that in 5 of the markets, the price is higher this time last year. But in a column directly adjacent to my last year price is the last week price, and those same components are flip-flopped. So in last week, the price of the gas was higher than it is this week in the 4 markets that it's higher than it was, that's lower than it was this time last year. Am I making sense? Anyway, it's too much. Bottom line, $2.59 California, $3.54, and the West Coast, less California, $3.17. So here's an interesting bit of information. The best classic cars and most famous cars are revealed. And this is information that I thought that you would really enjoy. This is a car type, and I'm going to name a car type, and then I'm going to name a movie, which I think is really cool. So of all of the cars that were identified, 87%, the number one identifiable vehicle back to the future was the DMC, the DeLorean. And that was of the cars that were 87% Back to the Future. The next was the Batmobile with 85%, the Batman series, and then the Grease Lightning in Grease, 84%, and then ECTO-1, that was in Ghostbusters, if you remember that Ecto-1 vehicle, 83%, and then Wet Nelly, and then Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, of course from the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, 79%. And so on and so forth. Then we got Herbie and an Aston Martin DB5. Well, you know where that came from. That's James Bond. And Goldfinger, 75%. And then the Volkswagen Microbus. And let's see, the Ford Grand Torino in the Big Lebowski. So really interesting. The Ford Deuce Coupe. Oh, this is cool. American Graffiti. And so on and so forth. At the bottom of the list was an Alfa Romeo 1600 Duetto Spider in The Graduate, 24%. So I'll just read out some of the movies because the cars are interesting too, but the movies from the bottom up: Better Off Dead, John Wick, Iron Man, Tommy Boy, Christina, Plymouth Fury. Yeah, I'm surprised that's at the very bottom, 38, almost at the very bottom. And then Transformers, The Italian Job, you know what that was, that's a Mini Cooper. And then the Dukes of Hazzard, Vanishing Point, Thelma and Louise, Mad Max, Fury Road, the Giga Horse. That was 54%. So I just thought that would really kind of be interesting, a little factoid there that you really don't care about, but to me it was interesting, of the movies and the cars, and this is all about cars. In fact, Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by Motorcraft, parts designed for specific applications to help ensure correct fit and easy installation. Motorcraft, right part, priced right, and you can learn more at motorcraft.com. That's motorcraft.com. So we're expecting a call now from Daytona, actually, and I suspect we'll be getting that call fairly quickly. Terry Sabiston is a gentleman that's been with us many times. So we're going to go to Terry now and put him on the air with me. So Terry, glad to have you in the house. Thank you so much for calling. What's going on in Daytona this morning?
I am at Daytona International Speedway, and there is no action on the track, Bobby. It's all everywhere else. The whole place is filled with cars. Unbelievable cars. It's the Turkey Run. It doesn't get any better than this.
Oh, yeah.
This is like dreams come true. This is so much fun.
So the Turkey Run is every year, and gosh, how many years has this event been played?
46 years. It's been at the Speedway, I think, about 20-something now. It used to be down at Bel Air Plaza, down on the beach, and they moved it over here about 25 years ago. It makes more sense to put it here. And what's even now, they have Turkey Run Daytona nights across the street at one Daytona. So the guys everybody leaves the track and goes across the street and hangs out over there at night instead of over on beachside. It's just, it's a dream come true. And speaking of dreams, I'm standing literally inches away from a 1970 Superbird.
I wonder what that car would sell for at Mecum or Barrett Jackson auction.
This one is not for sale, but I did find one for sale for $159,000 over at Diamond is detailing is here, and they've got a $159,000 one that rolled out of Hankster. So if you're looking for a Superbird, there you go. But the one I'm standing next to is a lime green.
Well,
it's a lime light.
And a lot of them were orange. And folks, the Superbird was a vehicle that the manufacturers had to come up with. They had to sell so many Superbird street cars, had a huge wing that, Terry, I'm sure the wing slowed the car down, but of course at that time the aerodynamics really did not exist underneath the car. That was long before racers realized the effects that the underneath of the car has, and so they put big, huge wings on the back of that car, and then they took the headlights and added I don't know, what is it, like a 1.5 foot nose on it, tapered?
Oh, at least. A good 18 inches, almost 2 feet. Like I say, I'm standing next to this one, and this one was actually registry VIN number Superbird, built 12/4 and 5, 1969. So it was built in December of '69. And it is lime green and just as pretty as can be. And literally sitting with the WNDB van right in the background. So WNDB's here. We've been out here for, that I know of, 20 years doing the turkey run. And this is just one of my favorite places to be out here for Thanksgiving. There's no better place than Thanksgiving. I had my root beer float this morning with a freshly made ice cream from the ice cream churn. I've wandered around for a couple hours already. I'll be here all day. They got the Hops and Hood Beer Festival going on with 120 different kinds of beer to sample. They've got the Artisan Alley where you can find that Christmas gift for your wife. They got the swap meet where if you're want to buy a car, you can buy it piece by piece out there at the swap meet.
Now I have been to a couple of those swap meets, and folks, you've never seen anything like it in your life. If you had, say, a 1963 or 1983 hot rod or a street car, regular street car. In fact, I had the first high-performance 289, 270 horsepower engine in a Fairlane in '63, delivered in the state of Florida. And if I could find that car, Terry, I think I would buy that car today. It was Rangoon red with red interior, no bucket seats. I didn't want bucket seats, and it was a 4-speed. And I ordered that car with a 411 gear, but they didn't make a 411 gear. Here's the funny thing about that. They made a 380 because it had a 8-inch ring gear. And the only 411 gear was in a 9-inch ring gear. So when they were making the car, this was in '63, they actually called the dealership where I'd ordered the car. And they said, we can't make this car. It doesn't come with a 411 gear, only a 380. Well, I insisted because I knew it had a short stroke 289. And sure enough, what Ford Motor Company did, I'm sure I wasn't the only one because I couldn't have made that happen. What Ford did in '63 was took the Galaxy 9-inch differential and chopped the housing and put the Galaxy big car differential under the 63.5 Fairlane, which was a 289 high performance. I think it was called a K car at that time, or an R, one of the two. One of the R's was a 427 or a K. I think the K was a 63 Fairlane. But I will tell you, I love that car, and I have to say I really abused that car, and it took it. I don't know how, but it was a great car. So if you see one,
I've seen
just
a few
think of me.
Fairlanes here. Give me a VIN number or something. I'll start looking to see if I can find it, Bobby. It might be here.
Yeah, well, you'll see it because on the left front fender, it will have Hypo 289, high performance 289. Right. And, it's really a neat car. So of all the cars there, I know you haven't seen them all, but other than the Superbird, what else is kind of neat?
Well, there's a transition going on with a car that's happening this year, and that's the Corvette going to the rear-engine motor. And so I thought, if the Superbird's a dream car, and it's an impossible dream car. But a Corvette seems pretty reasonable. And I've found Corvettes out here, and that's just it. There's so many of them. I saw a 59. I've seen a 65 Stingray. Just all the models of Corvettes you can imagine, and the prices are you can buy a car. That's the other thing. A car corral, cars for sale. Saw a 76 for $15,000 out here in the car corral. So there's Corvettes, probably. And I'm thinking as I look around, that's probably one of the most common cars out here. There's quite a few of them, and if you're looking for a Corvette, this would be the place to look for it. And it would be nice to have like a 59 or 60 Corvette. Those aren't for sale. Not too many of them, but as they get into later models, you'll see a lot of Corvettes out here. And I'm thinking maybe Corvette, with this transition, these cars are going to become more collectible with the front-end motors.
No question. And I will tell you this, I, for one, really, and I can't wait to see one and drive one, the mid-engine, the new 2020 Corvette has a dual-clutch transmission, and I won't go into how it's made, but Terry, a dual-clutch transmission uses 2 clutches in one clutch pack, and is in first gear as you accelerate, and second gear is already engaged, so that all you have to do to go from first to second is, and it's done electronically, one clutch releases while the other takes over. And it shifts gears in under 1/10 of a second. That's about 80 to 90 milliseconds. And a blink of your eyes is 200 milliseconds. That's how fast that vehicle can shift. Unbelievable cars. Hey, thank you so much for calling from Daytona, folks. This is Terry Sabiston, Motorsports Director for our Car Clinic affiliate, WNDB 1150 News Talk AM, right there in Daytona, Ormond Beach. And I got to get down there one of these days, Terry. Thanks again for calling us.
Thanks, Bobby. Have a great day. If you can hear my voice and you're in Daytona, you need to come to the turkey run. Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you. Well, there you have it, straight from the horse's mouth, Terry Sabiston. And he's really a gentleman that you really should meet one day. If you're in the neck of the woods there in Daytona, you go out and look him up and tell him I said that he was going to give you something, a hug. He'll do that too. Really a neat guy. Well, we're going to open the other phone bank. We've got a lot of calls coming in. So 888-227-2546. If you tried earlier and had a problem getting through, we've got that open now for you. So 888-227-2546 is the number for you to call. And again, I think it's really interesting about the movies and the cars. And then Terry calls from Daytona with the Turkey Run, which is about older cars. And so I guess today is going to be one of those nostalgic days. But I don't know. We talked about the 7-speed dual clutch transmission in the new Corvette. We'll take your calls after the commercial break at 888-227-2546. A 2015 Ford Escape recently came into the shop, 120,000 miles and going strong, but it was starting to hesitate, and the customer also complained of declining fuel economy. This 2-liter turbocharged engine is GDI, or gas direct injection, and special maintenance is needed in certain areas, particularly the fuel system. We suspected carbon buildup, and sure enough, using a borescope through the spark plug hole, there was definite evidence of carbon buildup. GDI engines are different in the way they inject fuel, and it can create some issues with repair and maintenance. That's why it's important to use products rated for GDI, like Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kit. Each step of the process is designed with GDI engines in mind. We use the kit, and after 2 weeks on the road, the car is performing noticeably better, and MPG has improved a bit. Learn more about Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kit and other great products at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So every Saturday I enjoy the conversations between the two of us, or you know, ever how many of you call in. And I share with you information that you really would be hard-pressed to find elsewhere. And I say that because with 48 years plus in the automotive service industry, in my own independent service facility, I've gleaned a lot of information and learned a lot from not only the courses and classes that I've attended, schools that I've attended, but also every day we solve a lot of issues with cars. And so to that end, we have in the shop right now a 2000, and I think it's a 10, it is F-250 diesel. And the vehicle came in, it's really a nice one, and I say that because I'm surprised because a lot of the diesels that we get in here come in with engine performance issues and what have you. This one belongs to a gentleman named Ryan, who has taken really great care of it. He's owned it, I think, 4 years. It has 100,000 miles on it, roughly, maybe a tad more. And so it came in with air conditioner weak, which means that it worked, but not really. You know, depending on hot weather today, and then rotate tires, and then some other needs as well. So the main issue became the air conditioner compressor. So we reached out to FordParts.com. We ordered a compressor for this vehicle, and then we, after we had properly diagnosed it, and gave it to Johnny, who is our master ASE certified technician. And folks, in order to gain access to the compressor, he has the front of the vehicle apart. And I say the grill, the radiator, the fan, the belts. It looks like, if you could imagine, somebody just a vehicle run down the road and chop the nose off it, because he's got it all apart. And the irony of that is we're going to replace the belts for the air conditioner and also for the main drive accessory belt. There are two belts on the vehicle, because the labor, get this now, the labor to replace the belts, if the truck just came in for belts, is about 3.5 hours, because the belts are that buried in this vehicle and you cannot get to them. So we've got the belts off, and both of them laying on the floor there waiting for the new compressor to go in. So it would really be a disservice had we not replaced those belts for the owner of the vehicle. So we're replacing the belts. We're also changing the fluid in the coolant. We're also changing the power steering fluid. We're changing the differential, front and rear differential. And we're changing the transfer case fluid and the brake fluid. So, and then we're changing air filters and then both fuel filters on the vehicle. And one fuel filter was common. The second fuel filter, the one down under, appeared to be original. Now here's 100,000 miles on a diesel with an original fuel filter. I think it's ironic. So not only did I learn that there were two filters on this particular vehicle, but I also learned that there aren't many people that know there are two filters on that vehicle. So that's interesting, and I thought I would share that with you. If you drive an F-250 diesel, then you need to really look into the filter situation and make sure that when you change the filter and you think you're doing everything just right, and you're taking care of your vehicle, there are two filters there. And you can check your year, make, and model for the application to see what's going on there. So really, really interesting. I have some more interesting news from O'Reilly Auto Parts that I thought I would check. Free check engine light testing. That's always, you should never ignore a warning light. And then this is really neat. Speaking of Ford Parts, Motorcraft spark plugs on select double platinum and iridium spark plugs or select glow plugs. And that's from O'Reilly Auto Parts. You can earn 4 times the O Rewards points, So if you need spark plugs for your Ford product, Motorcraft, hey, you go to O'Reilly Auto Parts. I think it's really interesting that both Ford Motor Company and O'Reilly Auto Parts are partners of ours. And of course, you say, well, you know, O'Reilly Auto Parts stocks a lot of parts, and they do. But for them to offer the Ford parts, it's just a double opportunity for me to share with you. So let me tell you what happened about 2 weeks ago, Fabio. I gave away the OBD2 Diagnostics Made Easy books, but it was 2 weeks ago, I think.
Right.
And so there's a gentleman in New York that we had drawn his name out of the hat, and his name was Frank, and he gave us his phone number. Hannah took his phone number. We were never able to reach him. So in the 2 weeks, we've called, I don't know how many times, probably 25 times. It just rang and rang and rang. So I want to share this information. Frank, if you're listening in New York and you were part of that show a couple of weeks ago where I gave away the OBD2 Diagnostics Made Easy book, which is really a cool edition of a book that's written by Steve Cook. And it's all about things that we talk about on air. Some of it's really technical, too technical to really get into unless you're in the business. But there's a lot of information that is not that technical that you could help. Not only is it pertinent to any vehicle, but any vehicle from 96 and up. Because, folks, in 1996, actually it started before, so there were a few automobiles that had the 96 OBD2 computer update before 96, but all vehicles by law were required to have the OBD2, and that's the onboard diagnostics second generation. And that computer blows away the OBD1. Now, having said that, the OBD1 computer that was on a car before 96 was more sophisticated than the computer used to put the man on the moon and get them home safely, just for you to know. And so now we've really gone into the third generation, and that third generation is the addition of other modules and data recording devices that record the data on your automobile. And to that end, recently we had another little announcement here about who owns that information. In fact, we had a gentleman from Mark Bogdansky. Bogdansky, that's his name. Bodgansky, something like that. Don't shoot me, Mark. That's okay. But anyway, he was our guest, and we talked about owning your own data. So, and here's the bottom line, folks. And I know this happened in my shop 20 years ago. I'm going to say 20 years ago. This was long before OBD2 was there, but it was long before it was common knowledge that you could go into an automobile and retrieve information about how the driver had been driving that car. So what we do is we were connected to a local law firm. We had an attorney for the local law firm to come in, and we had that was involved in a lawsuit. And this vehicle was a S10 pickup truck, and the vehicle had T-boned, the driver had T-boned a tree, dead center of the front bumper, and the driver died in that crash. And his head hit the windshield, and so it was believed that the airbag didn't deploy fast enough to make that happen. Well, that was the irony there, because that's when airbags were really being slammed for going off too quickly and too violently and hurting people. So it was the opposite. So anyway, we had an engineer from GM that came in. Our job was only to furnish the stall and to power up the vehicle with the battery. Didn't touch it except for powering up the vehicle with a battery, which we did. And so they filmed the complete event in the stall there. And so what the engineer from GM found was, and this was long before now where we are today, what the GM engineer found was the driver was going X speed. I don't know how fast, 70 miles an hour. I'm not sure of the speed. I don't remember the speed, so I won't put a number on it. But 1.5 seconds before the brake was applied, that he let off the accelerator, and hit the brake 1.5 seconds before the crash. 1.5 seconds, which is way too late. But here was the bottom line. He did not have his seatbelt connected. So the airbag, of course, the only way an airbag can help, an airbag system can help, is to have seatbelts and airbag connected. Both of those have to be in place. And so that really sort of dismissed the lawsuit. And so I wonder, now that I've actually been and seen that, been there, done that, I wonder how many other accidents and or lawsuits will be enforced or done away with by the information that is pulled from your actual computer on board, and especially these days when you have data recording devices. Let's take a call from Donald in New York and talk cars. 888-227-2546. Donald, welcome to Bobby Likis.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
I'd like to have your opinion on this business of the grill opening and closing. I think it's a waste of money and it's unsafe. My son out in Colorado, it happened to them. It happened on the weekend, out of town, and the car wouldn't go more than 30 miles an hour because the grill wouldn't open.
Well, let me say this about that. I would have to have the year, make, and model of the automobile. What does he drive?
Honda CR-V, 2019.
Okay. Well, let me say this, Donald. As a rule, almost without exception, when a component fails, it fails to the drivability side. And what I mean by that is when the parts of the electric motor that opens the grill shutters and closes the grill shutters, if that motor failed, then the shutters would open automatically because it takes the motor to force them to close. Now, given that that motor is gear drive, that might not be the case. I've never seen one of those, so I don't know. I've never had one apart, which I love to take things apart to find out how they're made. So that you may have a valid point there. However, having said that, if, and it's my belief that the manufacturer would make it so that if the motor failed, then that grill would open automatically. So in other words, it's like you pulling on a rope, and you have to pull, and if the rope were to break, then whatever you're pulling would go back to where it was to start with, just like the motor it pulls on the shutters and open them. But it may be that it's gear driven. If that's the case, and it were to ratchet or break a gear, then by all means, I guess it could happen. If that is the case, then the car would go into, and this is what it sounds like to me, what's called limp home mode. And limp home mode is quite common for all automobiles. And if you have a check engine light that comes on, it will not go, your car will not go, most cars will not go into limp home mode. If the check engine light is flashing, then that means you need immediate attention. There's a possible engine threatening or damaging situation. And in that case, yes, automatically the vehicle will go into limp home mode. And think about it, Don, if you're crossing, like I live in Pensacola, Florida, and we have the Bay Bridge. So if you're crossing the Bay Bridge and all of a sudden your light is flashing, hey, you got to get off the bridge. You do not stop. And I've actually told many people this on the air, and I'll say it again today. If you have a flat tire on the Bay Bridge, do not stop. Drive on that flat tire. The only thing you're going to do is damage your wheel. So what? It's better to drive off the bridge, get off the shoulder, so you can safely get the tire replaced. And so what if you ruin a wheel? At least it's not life-threatening, because on the bridge is life-threatening if you stop and try to change a tire. That's why they give tickets if people run out of gas on the Bay Bridge, rightfully so. So having said that, I believe that what's happened, and I think it'd behoove you to ask your son to ask the dealer, and I'll do some research myself, that indeed the vehicle, because of an issue with the shutters, went into safe drive home mode, which is limp home mode rather, which is at 30 miles an hour. Yeah, you're limping home. That's right. But at least he was able to drive it home and or to the dealership without being stranded on the side of the road, and that's what that's for. So that's the good news, the bad news. The good news is he was able to drive it. The bad news is 30 miles an hour gets a lot of horns blowing at you. I know he wasn't happy. He wasn't a happy camper. That helped you?
Well, it's unsafe, too, if you're on a 65-mile-an-hour road.
Absolutely, it is. No question about it. It's safe, but you just have to you put your flashers on, which I'm sure he did, and you take the first exit off, and then you call the 800 service that's in the glove box. There's always an 800 number for roadside assistance on new cars.
Well, I just don't think it's worth it for what it does. What does it do? Just closed in the morning when you start the car so it warms up quicker, and then it's going to be open the rest of the time, isn't it?
You make a good point, but it's all about MPG. It's not about. It's all about MPG.
How is that MPG when it's going to be open all the time when you're driving it?
Well, that's the whole point. See, it's not going to be open all the time. It's only open when you need to cool the radiator, and it opens partially. It's not an either or. It's a shutter, so you can open it as need be, and whatever air doesn't flow under the hood, which it does, it gets trapped, and whatever air flows around the car means the car is easier to push through the air and gets better gas mileage. Really is. Think about it. It's all about MPG, and folks, that's all the time I have. I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, you never want to get surprised by a dead battery. A vehicle's original battery generally lasts about 3 to 5 years, but many fail long before then. Next time you're in for an oil service, have the technician test your battery. Better now than too late. Today's vehicles have start-stop systems, navigation, radio amplifiers, electric fuel pumps, 25 or more onboard computer modules, and serious electronic controls that depend on a strong, fully charged battery. Make sure the car you're driving has a healthy battery. Make yourself a note. Go to autobatteries.com and see for yourself how a battery can keep you safely driving down the road or put you on the side, just like that. At autobatteries.com, you'll see battery technology, battery testing, how to choose the battery, how to jumpstart your battery, and more about AGM batteries, my choice. I'm not here to make you a battery expert, rather to help you better understand why a reliable battery is essential for your road trips. Go to autobatteries.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning, folks. Welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Ride along with me, and we'll talk cars or fuels or tires or new cars, old cars, classic cars, you name it. We'll just put it on the books. Hannah will take your call at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. Bobby Likis. Excuse me. There you go. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part today by our partners, the Car Care Council. If you're traveling this holiday season, remember to follow the 3 P's. And these are the 3 P's of car care. Prepare, prevent, and plan. It's easy to do, and you should do it up front. You'll save money, and you'll avoid breakdowns, and that's what really it's all about. You want to get on the road. You want your car to make it to your destination and home safely and without any issues. You can learn more at carcare.org, and while you're there, there's a free car care guide that will help you. It fits right into your glove box. That really gives you tips and information that you really would save you money and keep your car in your garage and out of mine. That's carcare.org. Your calls immediately after the break at 888-227-2546. Again, 888-227-2546 when I come back. Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Why is the thermostat so important? Cooling system regulates engine temperature and helps prevent overheating. While it's comprised of several components, the thermostat plays a critical role with efficient cooling system operation. It must regulate coolant flow properly to maintain a specific engine operating temperature in addition to providing quick warm-up. Motorrad's new stainless steel thermal element Ultrastat is unmatched for corrosion resistance. Its revolutionary Reax wax mixture provides quicker reaction time. The Ultrastat also features bilinear valve technology, which prevents thermal shock to cooling system components, gradually increasing coolant flow versus instant maximum flow found in traditional thermostats. The Ultrastat precisely controls engine temperature to ensure the lowest emission standards, maximum fuel efficiency, and terrific interior cabin comfort. The Motorrad Ultrastat line is the perfect thermostat upgrade option with coverage for over 160 million vehicles on the road today. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. Car repairs get expensive, and most of us don't have the money for them. That's where brands like K-Seal can really be a lifesaver. If you've had a car with a coolant leak, you know how expensive it can be. It's not usually the newer, higher-dollar vehicles that have leaks. It's the older vehicles, say $900 to $2,000 range, the cars we depend on for daily transportation and other vital tasks. If you're experiencing a coolant leak and the repair cost exceeds the value of your car, you don't necessarily have to take your car off the road. Try using K-Seal. We've seen our share of these in our shop where, before K-Seal, once a diagnosis was made of a leaking intake gasket, radiator, heater core, or head gasket, the car was sent for recycling and the owner had to purchase another. Before giving it up, try K-Seal. It's a pour-in solution that just may allow you to keep your car longer without spending more on repairs than the car is worth. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere, like AutoZone, and get more information at kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you in part by K-Seal. K-Seal is a one-step pour-in solution designed to stop coolant leaks and to help prevent future coolant leaks. You can find K-Seal at fine part stores nationwide like Advance Auto Parts. Don't just seal your cooling system, K-Seal it. Okay, 888-227-2546. We'll take a call. We'll go to, let's take line 1 first. Good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you. What's your name?
Doyle Burdett.
Well, Doyle, glad to have you on the air. What can I do for you, sir?
Well, I got a problem with an 02 Ford Ranger pickup. My brake lights do not work. Now, it's got a brake light up on top of the cab.
Right.
It works.
Okay.
I put a new switch in it. I've checked the bulbs. But in the fuse box, I'm not getting any power to the 2 fuses that are designated for those.
Well, as it is with any electrical issue, you have to have a test light and you have to have a wiring diagram.
Yeah.
You obviously have a test light because you can see that there's no power going to the brake light fuse.
Right.
So the first thing you should do is, you said you put a new brake light fuse switch in it, and you said that now that the third light, the upper brake light, does get power, right?
Yeah, it worked before I changed the switch.
Okay.
It's always worked.
All right. Okay. Well, then that tells us the switch is good. What it tells us is somewhere between the switch and the rear brake lights, which is another route and another pair of wires that run, there's an open circuit. Given this an 02 model, so Doyle, tell me, has this ever had a trailer towing package or lights, that where you hook up a trailer?
I think it does, because it's got a receiver hitch and it does have that.
Yeah. Well,
you're gonna
find your problem in that wiring harness, probably located under the bed of the truck, on either the left and right hand side. And what I would recommend that you do is you'll have to have someone that will apply the brakes for you, unless you use an ohm meter, but that requires a lot of wire, and it'd be easier if you go to the brake light wires that feed the rear lights, and you can it's easy to pop the light out. I'm sure you've already done that. The whole receptacle of the brake light, pop that out, and then trace those wires back under the bed. And I would go directly for the throat. I'd go directly to where the lights have been clipped and that system has been added, because more than likely that's where the problem lies. Now, that doesn't make sense that the third brake light works, and you told me that you step on the brake, but the brake light fuse never gets power. So you're telling me that you had somebody step on the brake lights and the rear third light was working, and yet the brake light fuse didn't have power going to either side.
Right. I cannot get any power to the fuse in the little fuse box there inside the door,
Well, let me say this. Yeah, right. Let me say this. Why don't you try this? Take a jumper wire with a known hot.
Yeah.
And now you have to be careful in doing this, but you take a jumper wire, and what I'd recommend is you hook a 10 amp fuse in line with a wire, and you take you make a wire hot. It's got a 10 amp fuse in it, and you touch the lights to the either side of the fuse box. Touch that wire to it. So in other words, you just supply power to that fuse. If the rear brake lights work, then you've got a good wire all the way back to the back of the truck. Then you can concentrate on what feeds the brake light fuse from inside the truck. That help you?
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. That's what try that, because otherwise you could be back there all day and still not get power, because you don't get power to the unit up front. Now,
so what you're saying, I mean, what I'm assuming is the power goes to the fuses and then to the switch, right?
No, yes and no. You have a hot going to the switch, and that is probably fused, but you also have the hot going from the switch to the brake lights that for sure is fused, because if you're going to have a short, it's going to be back there. It's going to be outside of the vehicle. So every feed has a fuse early on, just like the battery is hooked to the starter, but there's a fusible link so that if the battery ever got shorted or if the truck got shorted, it would burn the fusible link and save the whole harness. So the fusible link burns versus the whole harness. So that's what you're going to. So the bottom line, what you're going to do is you're going to find a hot, and you can find a hot under the dash or somewhere, and put a 10-amp fuse in line and touch that fuse on either side while someone looks. And if you have lights that work, when you put power at the fuse, you'll know it's between the fuse and the brake light switch. You got it?
I got it.
Okay, my friend.
I appreciate it.
Glad you called me. Yeah. Where do you live in Arkansas?
It's actually in northwest Arkansas, a booming area.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks for calling in. And KURM, the Colonel's station. Colonel Womack is our good friend, and we have a lot of calls from that area. So best of health to you, and thank you so much. Let me know what you find when you get to the other side, maybe on next week's program.
Okay, I'll do it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Have a great day. 888-227-2546. Take another call from Arkansas. Wow. Chris, good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Hey, Bobby, I always enjoy listening to your show.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey, and of course, I know Kermit. He's a good guy. But what I got, Bobby, I've got a 2016 Ford F-150.
Okay.
And I love the truck. It's got 62,000 miles on it. What happens is this thing, I'll pull up to a stoplight. It idles about 600 RPM, and then all of a sudden it'll start sputtering and die. I can start it right back up. It never set an engine code until last week. I thought, I'm going to get this thing out on the freeway, and I said, I'm going to blow it open. I'm going to blow the soot out of it.
Yeah, right. I got you.
Well, it went up to 3,500 RPM.
Okay.
And like I said, never set off an engine light, or check engine light. But it went up to 3,500, 4,000 RPM, and just sat there and sputtered. Well, then the engine light comes on. It starts flashing.
Wow.
So I pull over on the shoulder, shut it off, turn it back on. Engine light is off. But what it does, Bobby, it pings at low RPM through the first 3 gears as you're leaving a stop sign or a stoplight. Now, I took it in to one of my friends, and they put a scanner on it.
Okay.
And all it shows up is an intermittent mist on number 1 and number 5. Well, I talked to Ford. Ford says, well, the most common problem we're having, what we're seeing most of, is throttle body. Then I had another person tell me, well, it could be the coil pack, or it could be a catalytic converter. Well, I'm not a surgeon here, but I'm thinking, well, the converter's not going to have an issue unless it's dumping raw fuel in it. But I'm getting ready to take this thing into Ford, and I don't want to get my head chopped off on labor.
I hear you. Okay, so
But I want to know if you've got any ideas on this.
I do. So I'm not going to. I want to make sure you understand. I'm not skirting any of the issues that you talked about. I'm going to go right dead for what you need to know that has everything to do, not directly with what your symptoms are and what the prognosis or your opinions or whatever are, but with how to make sure that what you're most concerned with is that there's no advantage being taken of you as the owner of the vehicle. So here's what you're going to do. Number one, even if the check engine light is not on, Chris, when you go in, there will be a history of issues still logged into and on the computer in the memory bank. So,
well, Bobby, that's where they picked up the number 1 and number 5.
Right. But there's
random.
Okay. But let's don't get into the 1s or 5s or converters or what have you. Let's get into the conversation you're going to have with the dealer. Okay. What you're going to do is you're going to agree to, and they are going to agree to a testing charge. I started to say diagnostics, but I don't like to use that word because when you say diagnosis, you know, and let's say it's going to be 1 hour. Okay, let's say they're going to charge you $125 for a diagnosis. Well, that's really not correct. They should charge you $125 for a series of tests that are used to help pinpoint the next step. And so, because diagnostics is assumed that you're going to plug in a machine and find everything's wrong with the vehicle. And Chris, that's not the way it works. The way it works is a technician, a master certified technician, you want to make sure that that's who works on your vehicle, has a series of tests. And those tests are going to be not only to read the codes, but to go into the architecture of the computer and check for items that are operatable by that. I've got a hard break. I'm going to come back and give you another minute or so of help. And so don't go away. I'll be back. In the service bay this week, an 05 Chevy Silverado. The truck was experiencing a front brake noise and a pull to the left when stopping. We performed a thorough inspection and found the front pads completely worn out on the driver's side. The passenger side looked to be okay, but we noticed a loose wheel bearing on that side. Why would the pads be worn on just one side? It was a seized driver's side brake caliper. So we replaced the pads and rotors on the front along with the driver's side caliper. Also replaced the passenger side wheel bearing. Our parts choice for the repair, Omnicraft. With today's complex vehicles, not every part works or works well. Quality, fit, and function is a belief system in my shop. Approved and backed by Ford Motor Company for most non-Ford and non-Lincoln vehicles, Omnicraft quality brake parts will help ensure vehicle reliability and longevity. Learn more about Omnicraft brakes and other Omnicraft parts at omnicraftautoparts.com. Omnicraft Auto Parts, backed by Ford. Being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time as harsher conditions can strain your automobile. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Winter means shorter days and longer nights. It's a great time to make sure interior and exterior lights are working properly, and don't forget to make sure your headlights are properly aimed. This item is often overlooked. The best way to warm up your engine in the winter is to drive gently at the start. Make sure your ice scraper and snow brush are accessible, and replenish your emergency kit. Jumper cables, a flashlight, blankets, extra clothes, bottled water, non-perishable food, and a first aid kit with any medication that may be needed. It may seem like a lot, but better safe than sorry. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order a free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip
from Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Remember, every Saturday from 10 to noon Eastern Time, we come to you and I share with you information that I've learned in my over my 48 years in the automotive service business, 48 years and 7 or 8 months, as it were. And I share that with you, and I help you to really better communicate with your local service provider. So we're talking with Chris in Arkansas, who has an F-150 2016 truck that has it dies at randomly. So Chris, here's what I recommend that you do. You go to the dealer. There still will be, even though the light is not on, there still will be codes in there. Go
Bobby,
ahead. Yes.
It finally came on day before yesterday, and it stayed on.
Okay. Well, good. Make sure that no one resets any codes or clears any codes before you go in. That's a must. Because even if, and Chris, understand this, even if that light magically went out, and which can happen, after it resets and you go through certain startups and what have you, and the computer says, oh, this is okay now. It was bad before, but now it's okay. So I'll turn off the alarm. The codes and the problems are still logged in and recorded within the ECM, the electronic engine control module. So having said that, you go in to the dealer, you agree to their 1 hour of testing. So when you leave your vehicle, you're going to spend X amount of money because that's all you've agreed to. And then what they're going to do after they perform these tests, they're going to call you with the next step and explain to you what they found and what your vehicle needs to get beyond that. And I suspect that you're going to have something. Let's say it dies at a red light. Well, cylinder 1 and 5 wouldn't particularly cause that, make it idle rough, but not die, because the computer would speed up the engine if it saw it was slowing down, even if they had a bad cylinder or two, bad coil or bad plug or whatever. So I suspect that it could be throttle body, but I doubt that because again, the idle speed is controlled by the computer, and if all else fails, the computer is going to open the throttle, to keep it running. Even if
go ahead,
Bobby.
I'm going to give you one more chunk of information.
Okay.
This thing's got 62,000 miles on it.
Okay.
I've got 3,000 plus hours driving time, and I've got 4,000 hours of idle time. One of my questions is, could it be that something is dirty on the inside of that throttle body that I could easily fix with carburetor spray or what have you?
No, because now you did say, okay, I promised myself I wasn't going to fix cars on the air because you get so many, but
I don't expect you to do.
I know. Yeah, sure you do. Sure you do. You wouldn't have called me. So let's call a spade here, man. So here's a bottom. All right. So here's a bottom line. With idling, that there's a lot of vacuum, that engine's been idled for a lot of vacuum a lot of times. So the PCV system has caused and created a lot of carbon buildup on the back of the intake valves. That's a classic case, and it happens. Now, there's nothing you can do about that, and here's why. If a 16 truck, not a 17, but a 16 F-150 doesn't have two sets of injectors, port and direct. It has direct injection. So you can't add a fuel cleaner, even the Behrman products, the B12 Chem Tool, which is a great product. You can't add that to the fuel, and because
it has not helped because I've tried it.
Well, it can't help because it is for the fuel, the wet part. But you see, in your vehicle, the wet part is in the piston area, not in the intake where the dirty valves are. And that's to that end, Chris, you'll be, not that it helps you, but at least you'll know, if you had a 17 Ford, they added the port injection back. Of course, they said it was to make better performance. In my heart of hearts, I definitely believe that it was to keep the back of the valve washed and clean, or cleaner. So having said that, the only way that the induction system, and that's probably what they're going to recommend to start with. That's out of my gut. An induction system service can only be successful if the engine is at operating temperature and the technician slowly sprays a mist, a fog of chemical in the intake plenum, and that fog gradually dissolves carbon and debris on the walls, and including the underside of the plenum and the valves and the ports and what have you. And then that takes about an hour of idling and RPM up to 1,500, 2,000, and back down to idle, 3,000 back. And he's got to be there all the time to monitor the cleaning. And then after all of that chemical has been delivered to the mouth of the engine and there's no more chemical left, that vehicle must still be driven because that same misting and fogging of the intake plenum and ports and valve chambers will puddle up in the bottom of the intake and could hydro-lock the engine, so the technician has to go drive the vehicle and blow it out, so to speak, before you get the vehicle back.
Okay.
So that would be, not that you can do this, because this is professional, I'm saying, that would be advisable, because I don't believe you're going to have a bad coil or a bad plug on 1 and 5. I just don't believe that. I think those cylinders didn't get their fair share, or the valves were not closing, or yada yada. So yeah, I would feel more comfortable. Now, if you had a hard code of 1 and 5, and then they recorded all the codes, which we always do, and then they cleared the vehicle and went to drive the vehicle, which takes time, and made the light come back on, and the codes came back on 1 and 5, then yeah, there's a problem with 1 and 5. But at random, nah. I think you need to start with at 60,000 miles, and please, and before I let you go, make sure you tell the dealer that you've got 4,000 hours of idling, because therein lies the reason that you've got this issue at 60,000, not 160,000. You got it?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Glad you called. All right, thank you so much.
Bobby, I appreciate you, buddy.
I appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for calling.
You're welcome.
Let's go to Nebraska. Take a call from Ross. Ross, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding, man.
Oh, you're welcome. Good morning to you, and I really appreciate your program. I listen on 1340 KGFW out of Kearney, Nebraska.
Terrific. Always, yeah. What can I do for you?
Well, earlier you were talking about cars you ordered. I ordered a car out of the factory in 1970, a 71 Chevy Nova with a 350 and 3-speed on the floor.
Wow.
I think it was like $3,400 for the sticker price, which would be quite a rebate these days.
Well, yeah, really. I mean, what's the average price? You know, I remember, and here's the challenge with being in the industry. You know, prices change so rapidly. And so let's say that you came in and say, Bobby, I need a water pump for my whatever. I said, well, gosh, you're going to spend $350, $400, you know, what have you. And so then I turn that over to my service manager, and then they look up the price of the parts, the updated price of the parts, and the updated price of the labor, and that bill's $150 more. And so I said all that to say that I remember when the average base price of a new car was like 25, 26 grand. Well, the other day I was talking with someone, and I heard, yeah, the average price is $38,000. I mean, average, you know, price of a new car is $38,000, and it hasn't been but 5 years that it was $26,000. So, you know, as we see, cars continue to grow in expense. But anyway, I know that's not why you called me. Why did you call me?
Well, actually, you know, that's saying what you're talking about going up in prices. Somebody once told me that's a lot of cabbage. But
Yeah.
I'd like to have you look sometime, if you haven't heard about it, go and do a search on Cruise Night in Kearney, Nebraska. It's like the third weekend in July, and they have a car show downtown, and downtown has brick streets. I think they have like 600 cars at times, and then they have a cruise night. They drive around town. But it's expanded to having nostalgic drags on Sunday, so you need to look that up sometime, Cruise Night in Kearney, Nebraska.
Well, Ross, just for your information, we promote Cruise Night every year and have for 10 years on Cruise Night. Brad Koenig, you know, he's and Jerry Erickson.
I don't know Jerry, but I know Brad.
So let me tell you this quick story, okay? So I got a call from Kappa Ethanol. You're familiar with that, of course. And so Chuck calls me, and he says, I'd like for you to come to Kearney and you know, be on the stage and talk with our team. We got a annual board meeting, and we've got a lot of people coming, and I'd like for you to talk. And so I said, well, Chuck, I said I'd love to, but I can't do that. He said, why? I said, well, I would get on the stage, and in 5 minutes I would talk about cars and what have you, but I couldn't tell farmers how to grow corn. I couldn't tell you how to make ethanol. And I said, but I'll tell you what I could do. I could be part of a panel. He said, okay, you're it. You're part of the panel. So I flew to Kearney, which is really a great story. I won't go into all the details, but I flew to Kearney, and I was on the board with Musselman, who owns a petroleum company there, and I was there with Chuck, and with John, and a lot of the Kappa Ethanol board of directors, and great guys. And there were like 350 people there. And at the end of the event, at the end of the day, I went to dinner with this Central Nebraska car club, and Jerry Erickson and his wife picked me up in a '64 Chevrolet. And then that evening, after we had dinner, they went back to their house. It was about 11 o'clock that night, and Jerry's got 4 antique cars. One is a pickup truck, and it wouldn't surprise me that he wouldn't take his pickup truck and make it EV, electric power. But anyway, I'm well familiar with that event, and I promote it every year.
Great. Well, that's great. I have a question for you. I have a dream car, a 32 Ford 5-window coupe, 3-inch chop, no fenders, and a flathead between the rails.
Okay.
What's the maximum horsepower you could squeeze out of a flathead by boring and stroking and doing other things with it?
Well, with today's technology, now that's a loaded question, because I guarantee you could make an easy 300 horsepower out of that vehicle, or you could do it much easier. If you really wanted horsepower, you could take that same engine that you've got, if it's healthy, and I'm sure that yours is, and I love the way they idle so smoothly. So to me, I'd like a smooth running flathead. I just think there's nothing like it. And then I would put a supercharger on it with 5 pounds of boost, no more. That way you don't need an intercooler. It's a bolt-on, and it's outside of the engine. And I believe in my heart of hearts that the current head gaskets and studs would withstand that 5 pounds of boost. And that's what I would do if I were you. So you think about it. We have a hard break coming up. I want to hear what you thought about that after the break, so don't go away, Ross. I'll be back. Folks, recently a '99 Chevrolet Blazer came into the shop. The owner was having problems with hesitation upon acceleration. He'd already changed out several parts: spark plugs, wires, ignition coil, mass airflow sensor, fuel filter, and the air filter element. He even changed the thermostat and coolant temperature sensor. Still had the same problem after putting a lot of money in this car, and he was frustrated. We dug a little deeper, cleaned the throttle body, and checked for trouble codes. No codes. So we recommended Berryman B12 Chem Tool. Carbon deposits and dirty fuel injector nozzles are a common problem with drivability in late model engines. We also recommended a higher quality gasoline. The customer noticed improvement on the first day, and only a few days and a few hundred miles later, the problem was completely gone. Berryman B12 Chem Tool features HEST, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. The result is a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. Drive to BerrymanProducts.com for more information. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your hosts, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We're talking with Ross in Kearney, Nebraska. So Ross, with your flathead, what do you think about my idea now that you've had 3 minutes to think it over?
I was thinking about probably leaving a carburetor on it, carburation and induction, but just out of curiosity. Now, another quick question. I've got to go because my battery's kind of running low on my cell phone, but Bobby, are there parts out there, gaskets and such, you could set up a flathead so it would accept E10 fuel okay?
Absolutely. There's no. You can build any engine today, regardless of its era. Well, I don't know about in the 20s and 30s, but by all means, what I would do if I were you is I would Google Flathead Club of America. Now, I don't know that there is one, but anytime that I have callers from across the nation, and every time that there's a specific need for a niche market, like F-body Camaros or Firebirds or Thunderbirds or GT40s, cars like that, and Viper, like Viper Club of America, which I was a member of. So what this will do is this will put you in touch with, and I'll tell you who I would talk with. I'd talk with Brad Koenig and ask him if there's a flathead club, because they'll know who, what, where, and when of any part that you're ever going to need for that vehicle. And I'm really excited about this because I will tell you, and what I would not do is I'd modify that engine, but I would not go to the extreme and put a rough idling camshaft, because then you lose all of the character of a flathead Ford. That's why I liked the supercharger, because you could have an engine that reminds me of the Studebaker Hawk. They had a 289 engine, not like the Ford 289, but a 289 Studebaker engine, and that engine idled. You could put a glass of water on the air cleaner, and literally, and it would not ripple almost. I mean, it just was unbelievably smooth, and yet it had a lot of power because it had a Paxton supercharger. So that's kind of in my estimation, what I would like to have, and what I think you could enjoy without having to see. The problem when you start modifying it and putting wild cams and what have you, it's in the shop more than it is on the road. So you don't want to lose that drivability. You don't want to go wild with it, and so that's what I would do. But reach out to Brad, and if you need his contact information, let me know and I'll give it to you. So let me put you back on hold, and Hannah will take your number or give you my email address. Well, it's bobby@carclinicnetwork.com. So put it back on hold. And Ross, thank you so much for your call. Let's go let's come back home to Florida. Dal, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hello?
Hello. This Dal?
This is Bill. Yes, sir.
Is it Bill?
Bill. B-I-L-L. I'm in Lakeland, Florida.
Well, good morning, Bill. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. My wife's 2008 Matrix Toyota, the check engine light came on, and it was the transmission light at a pretty reputable shop. And they say that it's in the process of going out because the fluid is contaminated. And they said it's very unlikely that the factory would even have one or could get one for it in a junkyard when there's $2,400 with a year's guarantee. So I asked them about changing the fluid or filters or any service on it, and they said that it might not even move if we done that. And I just didn't know if any of this is reasonable. She bought the car new, and she has no reason to trade.
How many miles on the Toyota, Bill?
130.
Well, I tell you what I would do. You said the magic word. You trust this shop and their directive. I think what they're concerned with is that you could spend, $200 to $400 and go out the door today, and then Monday morning or Monday week you drive right back in with the same issue, and that $400 would have gone toward the $2,400, and especially with the fact, see. The fluid, you said something, the fluid, damaging the transmission. It is the transmission that has damaged the fluid. So the fluid is a blood sample of the condition, the current condition inside that transmission. And for them to make the recommendation leads me to believe, if you trust them, and let's do, it leads me to believe that the quickest and least painful way is to go with a year's guarantee used transmission. And by the way, we sell and we offer to our customers remanufactured transmissions, new transmissions, and used transmissions. The reman is done by several manufacturers in the States, and they're as good as the original specs. A used transmission, well, a new one is a new one, and then a used transmission with a 1-year warranty is a lower mileage unit known to be good and guaranteed by the vendor. That's the recycling yard to the shop, and the shop gives you that, but you have to pay, as a rule, $200 to $400 more for the 1-year warranty used transmission, but it's still cheaper than a new one. So I'm on board with what they recommended to you, because I think you could get mired up in trying to fix something that has served its time and it's done.
Right. Well, I just didn't know if it was even practical to put one in it, or probably not a new one. But.
Well, it is practical, because if the used one comes with a year's guarantee, then more than likely it's going to be good for 3, 4, 5 years. And besides, what you want to do here is you want to think about this. Let's say you had more problems than just the transmission. You're in a position where at 130,000 miles, you're going to spend X amount of money. So you have to look at that layout of money, and you say, okay, I'm going to amortize this over 4 years. I figure I can drive this car another 4 years, another 3 years. And if you spent $3,000, that's $1,000 a year. Well, that's less than $100 a month. So you amortize that expense. But in essence, if you had to spend $5,000, which I've done on older cars that weren't worth $5,000, you're in essence in the position of buying your car back, your own car. And let me just briefly give this information, because this is good for everyone who's tuned in that may be in that position. When you're in a position to where you have to spend more on your car than it is worth, then you have to consult with your service shop to see if that's what they recommend. And then here's the bottom line: when you buy your car back, you say, okay, I'm going to spend $5,000 on my car, or I could spend $6,000 or $5,000 and buy another used car. The bottom line is, you know more about your car. So if your car was in good condition minus the $5,000 to bring up whatever's bad in it, it's still a known car and known condition car versus another used one that you might buy for $5,000, and then 2 weeks later you got to spend $5,000 on it because you didn't know what all was wrong with it. You understand where I'm going there?
I know exactly what you mean.
When it works, it's worked so well for us, yeah. So, Bill, that's what I'm going to recommend, that you spend the money on that car if you trust that shop and you trust them to treat you right and stand by that transmission, parts and labor, for 1 year, regardless of miles. That's the way it should be positioned. You got it?
Yes, sir, I sure do. And we appreciate the show and also your sponsors.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate your kind words, and as always, I love to hear that from everyone. Thanks, Bill. Have a great weekend, and let me know when you get to the other side how it comes out. I'd be curious to see how our conversation panned out with actual results from your service shop and the repairs that they recommend. Okay?
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by Optima Batteries. Optima batteries, folks, are up to 15 times more vibration resistant than traditional flooded batteries. Optima batteries are the ultimate power source, and you can learn more about Optima batteries at optimabatteries.com. Didn't you know? optimabatteries.com. And by the way, Optima Batteries is a brand of Clarius. Clarius batteries. 1 in 3 batteries in the world is a Clarius battery. I bet you didn't know that. OptimaBatteries.com. Okay, so what else do I have for you? The Fast and the Furious, that's a movie. Back to the Future, that's a movie. Batman series, Grease, Ghostbusters, The Spy Who Loved Me, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. These are all movies that had what? Special cars, like the DeLorean, the Batmobile, Wet Nelly, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, the Ford Explorer XLT UN 4600. That was the Jurassic Park vehicle. Herbie, the Love Bug, Aston Martin DB5, James Bond. Those cars bring a fortune. And Fabio, that car that James Bond drives, not the same one because he's had more than one, in Goldfinger. But the cars that James Bond drives, they're Aston Martins, and they have the little flip switch where they supposedly have the bullets that go out the back and all that trick stuff. Those cars sell at auctions for like millions of dollars. I mean, it's amazing because they're special. And I'll tell you, folks, exciting to me, Steve McQueen, of course, Bullet. I mean, that was, I can see that. I can see that one scene where he was chasing or battling back and forth with the bad guy. And the look on the expression of that bad guy's face when they were running together and the bad guy ran off and ran into the clay wall, the dirt pile. I can see it now like, oh, I'm done here. And sure enough, he was. Of course, Steve McQueen, rallied, and he's a good guy, did win. He was a great driver, too. And a lot of people are great drivers in those movies. And a lot of those drivers drive some of those scenes themselves. So anyway, I find that really interesting. I guess when you reach a point in your career and you have stuntmen that do all the stunts for you, because otherwise it's okay if they get broken up and because that's what they get paid for. But you could get damaged for life or injured for life, as they say, damaged. I'm thinking of cars, injured, damaged. I think we'll start talking about, is your car injured? Why don't we do that? Well, folks, if you have an injured car and its pulse is not working correctly and it has noises and it smells and you smell oil or gas, give me a call, 888-227-2546. That's 888-227-2546. Hannah will take your call, put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. Gasoline prices, $2.57.9 average across the United States. 4 of 5 of the regions for those prices today, the price is higher than this time last year. So we have 4 red zones, which means that the prices are higher, and 5 green zones. Well, just the opposite is true if you look at this price last week. Those reds were green last week, and those greens were red last week, and vice versa. Anyway, whatever. The point is, gasoline prices is up and down. It's like a roller coaster, and it has a lot to do with politics and the price of crude, as you know, dictates a lot of things that we do. And I will tell you, we talk occasionally about EV cars. And EV cars are definitely here to stay. And I know this because the OEMs are investing billions of dollars into self-driving cars, which are EV cars, and they're investing billions of dollars into EV cars for you to drive. And I'm just, I guess we're thankful to have such innovative individuals as Elon Musk, because he has definitely single-handedly, well, I don't know if we give him that much credit, but I guess we could, because if it weren't for Elon Musk and the Tesla, I don't think we would have the forward movement of EV cars today. And to that end, this week we had a couple of young guys in. In fact, a gentleman that was 24 years old, and he brought in his Jeep. And people that own Jeeps spend a lot of money on them. Of course, people that drive Jeeps have to spend a lot of money. I mean, folks, I'll tell you, a used car, don't buy a Jeep, but people will still buy a Jeep because they like them. And they do come in handy. But anyway, this young man came in, Fabio, yesterday, and I met him, and he picked up his Jeep, and we put some wiper blades in and serviced it and did a couple of other things. He has ordered a 2021 Tesla pickup truck. 500 miles per charge. Now, this is this is November the 30th, 2019, my wife's birthday. Happy birthday, sweetheart, Diane. So we're going to see next year, this same time next year, it'll be November 30th, we're going to see where the Tesla pickup truck is in its bring to the showroom floors. Well, no showroom floors. Bring to the malls and wherever else you buy Tesla. We'll see where that happens. I want to tell you, folks, that's all the time we have for today. And remember, if you're like Frank in New York, or you're like Jerry in Ormond Beach, make sure with your Ford that and your repair and maintenance needs that you buy Motorcraft parts. Their original equipment, of course, their approved specifications and performance for all Ford and Lincoln repairs, along with an extensive parts lineup, which means that you'll find the right part with the right fit the first time, which is really, really important. And that helps to reduce the vehicle downtime, wouldn't you know? You can take a quick tour at motorcraft.com. Remember that name, Motorcraft. And years ago, I used to race Fords, and this was in the 60s. I raced Fords. Everyone else, not everyone, but a lot of others ran Chevrolets. And I always said that, well, you know, it takes a real technician to make a Ford run fast, because Chevrolet always did put out more and during that time speed parts than Ford Motor Company. Well, Ford caught up with them with the Mustang and the Bullitt and those cars. Really exciting. So take a quick tour at motorcraft.com. Meantime, next week, same time, same station, I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Motorrad, a longtime OE supplier, is a leader in automotive thermostats, caps, and engine management products. Motorrad's manufacturing facilities feature state-of-the-art equipment with strict quality control and functional testing, ensuring high-quality, long-lasting products. Motorrad delivers world-class product development for its advanced thermal and engine management programs, providing parts, accessories, and kits needed to do the job right the first time, every time. Motorrad provides parts for virtually any vehicle and engine on or off the road. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service.
O'Reilly. Take advantage of Black Friday deals at O'Reilly Auto Parts. This Friday through Sunday, you'll find something for everyone on your list. Stereo accessories, Hot Wheels, universal backup cameras, cordless tools, gift cards, and more. You can even order online and pick them up in store. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P-Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, it starts my morning. Happy morning, your name is Fortress Mountain. Grow now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake up.